One day, I sent a package to my cheating wife and the guy she was involved with, and apparently it caught them right in the act, sending them into a panic. "I'm really sorry, Mr. Lawson," said Brian Foster as he handed me a large envelope. "Giving people bad news like this is never easy." Inside that envelope was a detailed summary of everything my wife had been up to with her former boss, Travis Reed. Alongside the report were several photographs and a DVD. I flipped through the pictures quickly, but I hadn't gotten the nerve yet to watch the video. Deep down, I knew I had to face reality, but the thought still made me uneasy. "Do you have any idea how long this has been going on?" I asked Eric. He skimmed back through his notes to double-check. "Based on what we found, it's been going on at least 10 years, maybe closer to 12, he said. "Looks like it all started right around the time your wife was up for a big promotion. That was about a year after your daughter Chloe was born." This revelation hit me hard, and it quickly became clear that I needed DNA tests to confirm whether the children were truly mine. Another thought crossed my mind and unsettled me even more. What about sexually transmitted diseases? The investigation showed Travis had a history with many married women besides Megan. Given that Megan and I had continued being intimate after she stopped working, I started to worry about what she could have unknowingly passed on to me. Clearly, medical testing had become an urgent priority. Looking back at Eric's report, I almost laughed bitterly at his note that Megan didn't seem aware of Travis's activities when he wasn't with her. "One more thing, Mr. Lawson," Eric said. "Travis insists he never intended to ruin your marriage. He also said they've never been intimate at your house." That was a relief, at least. When I first hired Eric, I'd had him set up hidden cameras and microphones around our home. Knowing Travis hadn't invaded our bedroom was one small mercy. "Thanks for letting me know, Mr. Foster," I told him. I'd met Travis Reed a few times before, and I'd never cared much for him. Sure, he had good looks, but his attitude always irritated me. More than once, I nearly wiped that smug expression off his face. Now, knowing the truth, it all made sense. "There's something else, Mr. Lawson," Eric added. "Travis's sister Vanessa has known about this affair from day one, and it appears she's been helping them." This news hurt in a different way. I'd always thought Vanessa was a good person, nothing like her arrogant brother. "Man," I whispered to myself in disbelief. "Have you spoken with a lawyer yet?" Eric asked. "No, not yet," I said. "I wanted to get everything straight first." "If you're interested, I highly recommend Dana Morgan," Eric suggested. "I've worked with her many times, especially dealing with cases like this. I'd be glad to forward your case to her and let her know you'll be coming by." "That sounds great," I agreed. "Thanks. I'll get in touch with her to set up an appointment." Eric handed me his business card, and I slipped it into my pocket. "Mind if I offer some advice?" he asked. "Sure, go ahead," I nodded. "Let Dana handle everything. I know you're hurting and probably want to retaliate, but don't. It's not worth getting into trouble over this. This isn't some made-up story, it's real life. And remember, you've got 2 kids to think about," he reminded me. "I appreciate it." "Thanks," I said sincerely. I settled my payment and left his office, feeling like my entire marriage had just crumbled around me. Even though Eric was right, the pain was overwhelming. When I got to my car, I just sat there and cried for about 15 minutes. Once I pulled myself together, I took out Eric's business card and called Dana Morgan, law firm, to schedule a meeting for the next day. Dana gave me a list of documents she'd need, mostly financial statements. On my drive home, I stopped at a convenience store and bought a pack of cigarettes, something I hadn't done since my college days. Then I headed to a bar, hoping a beer might ease the pain. I've never really been one to drink, but this time felt justified. "Everything all right, buddy?" the bartender asked as I lit a cigarette. I glanced up at him. "Is it obvious?" "Afraid so," he said, giving me a small, understanding smile. "Let me guess, just found out your wife's been cheating?" "Exactly," I replied, nodding. "And for 12 whole years. Can you believe that?" "Actually, I can," he said sympathetically. "I've seen and heard plenty working here." "I bet," I agreed, sighing. He leaned closer. "Mind if I share something my granddad used to tell me?" "Go ahead," I encouraged him. "He always said I felt sorry for myself because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. Look, I know you're hurting, I've been there too, but it will get better. Trust me, plenty of people have it worse." "Your granddad sounds like a wise man," I said. "He definitely was," he confirmed warmly. "Finish your beer, then go home. Face your problems head on. You're not going to find any real solutions at the bottom of that glass." I smiled weakly and nodded. "You're right." In my gut, I knew the bartender was right. Sitting there, drinking my beer, I thought it all over. I'd never dreamed Megan would cheat on me. Looking back, though, little clues had been there all along, nothing definite on their own, but now everything fit together perfectly. For example, after Chloe, our second child, was born, I had gotten a vasectomy. Yet Megan started using birth control again. That seemed odd, so I asked her why she'd do that since I'd already handled things. She said it was just extra caution and that the pills helped her regulate her monthly cycle. I wasn't a doctor, so I just accepted her explanation. Then Megan got a new job and began traveling frequently with Travis. Her outfits became less professional and more like something you'd wear on a date. When I questioned her about it, she hinted that entertaining clients might be part of her duties. It didn't take long for me to realize that Travis was probably the main client getting entertained, if you catch my drift. Whenever she traveled, I'd call her at night. Strangely, she always answered from her hotel room, but sometimes I'd swear I heard a man's voice in the background. Her own voice would waver or sound strained, like she was nervous. Back then, I couldn't make sense of it. But now I understand Travis was probably right next to her, touching her, maybe even more, while she was talking to me. When Megan returned home from these trips, I often noticed a faint scent on her clothes, Travis's cologne. It sickened me because I'd smelled it on him every time we met. I knew they must have been physically close for her clothes to carry that scent. Then there were those Friday afternoons when she said her old company still needed her special skills after retirement. They kept me for just one afternoon a week, she'd say, though sometimes I'll have to travel. She'd insist it was strictly business. But now I know those special skills involved activities far more personal than office work. Gradually, that one afternoon became 2 or 3, and she wouldn't come home until late, sometimes 9 or 10 at night. Her occasional business trips also increased from once a month to multiple weekends away. Some retirement, right? This all happened within the last 5 months. The strangest part was Megan treated me exactly the same at home. She was as sweet and caring as she'd ever been, still seemed happy spending time with the kids and me. That was reassuring, considering I'd taken on most of the parenting because of her supposedly demanding schedule. After wrestling with these doubts for months, I finally hired Eric's investigative agency to find out what Megan was really up to. Unfortunately, they confirmed my worst fears. Now, the only question left is how we split everything up. If it had been a one-time slip, maybe while she'd had too much to drink, I could have gotten past it. Sure, I'd be mad, but not enough to end it. This, however, was an intentional betrayal that had gone on secretly for more than 10 years. It was time someone took responsibility. I stubbed out my cigarette, finished my beer, and nodded to the bartender, leaving a generous tip for his honesty. Arriving home, I was surprised to see Megan's car in the garage. Closing the garage door behind me, I took off my jacket and headed toward my office. Megan stopped me on the way, immediately smelling the cigarettes and beer. "You've been smoking," she frowned. "And drinking? Is everything all right, Eric?" "No, honestly, today's been one of the worst days of my life," I replied. "What's wrong? Did something terrible happen?" She looked genuinely worried, but I couldn't help doubting it. "Something happened, yeah," I said. "I'll spend tonight in my office. Probably best you leave me alone. Can I do anything to help, honey?" She offered. "Yeah," I thought bitterly, "undo what you've done." But instead, I simply answered, "There's nothing you can do." "By the way," she said casually, "I need to travel this weekend." "Again?" I asked, annoyed. "Didn't you just have a weekend trip?" "Something urgent came up," she insisted. "Just business." "Chloe's birthday party is Saturday," I reminded her. "I know," Megan said with a sigh. "But I can't miss this. Could you please explain it to her?" "I'm done making excuses for you," I said firmly. "You missed Erin's birthday and our anniversary last year. You tell Chloe why you'd rather spend the weekend with Travis than be here for her birthday." Megan sighed heavily, clearly unhappy. "You're being unfair," she protested. "No," I pushed back. "You said you retired months ago after your company sold, yet you're always gone. Do you want to tell me what's really going on? Are you accusing me of cheating?" She shot back defensively. "Think about how you'd feel if our positions were switched," I challenged. Her anger softened a bit. "I get your point," she admitted. "But it's truly just business." "So you keep saying," I replied, stepping away. "Now, please don't disturb me tonight. You'll have to manage the kids yourself." I went to my office, locked the door, and started preparing the information Dana needed. Megan tried opening the door. "Eric," she called softly, "please talk to me." "Leave me alone, Megan," I said through clenched teeth. "I'm busy." I heard her footsteps fade as she left. Opening the file Eric sent, I found it hard to recognize the woman I'd loved and supported for 12 years. Finally, I put on my headphones and pressed play on the DVD. You can't imagine the pain unless you've lived through seeing the person you love willingly giving herself to another man. I didn't care how Eric obtained those videos. The only thing clear to me now was that any love I ever felt for Megan had vanished completely. Watching her and Travis together on screen made me promise myself I'd never touch her again. I listened closely to their conversation. Travis held Megan close and asked, "Are we still on for this weekend?" Megan smiled warmly, replying, "Absolutely. You know I can't stand being apart from you too long." "But isn't your daughter's birthday this weekend?" he questioned. "It is, but Eric will handle everything," she said casually. "He's better with the kids anyway. Besides, if I had to pick between a house full of noisy girls and spending time with you, there's no contest." "Megan, I enjoy our time together, but aren't you worried Eric might get suspicious?" Travis asked cautiously. "You're supposed to be retired now." Megan reassured him, stroking his arm. "Travis, whether I'm retired or not, I'm not ending what we have. I love Eric and the kids, but these past 12 years with you have been incredibly important to me." "That's good to hear," Travis responded thoughtfully. "Remember when we started this, you said you'd choose your family if forced. Do you still feel that way?" She hesitated slightly, admitting honestly, "I'm not sure anymore. It hasn't come up." Travis sighed, "I still can't believe you've managed to keep him in the dark all these years. If he ever finds out, it'll be messy." "It was tough at first," Megan explained, "but I've gotten good at keeping my private life separate. I treat him well, and if he ever found out, I'd threaten him with a tough divorce." "That might not work," Travis warned. "But if things get complicated, you're welcome to stay here. I enjoy your company." "Thanks, Travis," Megan said softly, "but I doubt it'll ever come to that. He hasn't suspected anything in 12 years, and I don't think he ever will." "How long do you plan on keeping this up?" Travis asked curiously. "As long as possible, maybe forever," Megan stated firmly. "Maybe you'll get your wish," I thought bitterly as I closed the video. I quickly hid the DVD back in my briefcase and heard Megan knocking at my office door. "What?" I responded sharply. "The kids are ready for bed," she said gently. "Could you come and say goodnight?" "Yeah, give me a minute," I replied. I shut off the computer, went upstairs, and forced a smile while tucking the kids into bed. Chloe looked at me, sensing something wasn't right. "Are you okay, Dad?" she asked quietly. "I'm fine, sweetheart," I reassured her, "just tired from work." "Good night, I love you." "Love you too, Dad," she replied, giving me a kiss. Afterward, I went downstairs and poured myself some coffee. "Megan mentioned I saved some dinner for you." "I'm not hungry," I replied flatly. Stepping outside, I sat down on the patio and lit a cigarette. Megan joined me shortly after, attempting a kiss. I turned my head, allowing only a peck on the cheek. No way was I kissing lips that had been on Travis Jacobs' body. She looked puzzled. "What's wrong, Eric? You're not yourself. Please, tell me what's bothering you." I exhaled slowly. "Sometimes life doesn't go as planned." "What do you mean?" she asked, confused. I remained silent, shaking my head. "Eric, please talk to me," Megan pleaded softly. "I love you and I'm here for you." I glanced at her briefly through the smoke. "It's too late for that," I muttered. "Too late? For what?" she pressed anxiously. "You're smart," I replied coldly. "Figure it out yourself. I just need some space right now." "But maybe I can help," Megan persisted gently. "Please, Megan," I said with clear frustration. Realizing I might give too much away, I softened my tone. "I'm sorry, it's just work stress. Give me a few days." I didn't like lying to her, but I reasoned it was fair to deceive someone who'd deceived me for so long. "Okay," she whispered tearfully, hurrying back inside as tears rolled down her face. After finishing 2 more cigarettes, I went back inside, showered thoroughly to remove the smoke smell, put on pajamas I rarely wore, and climbed into bed. Megan reached toward me under the covers, but I pushed her away, rejecting her advances for the first time in our marriage. "Eric," she whispered uncertainly. "Good night, Megan," I muttered, turning away. She began quietly crying, but at that moment, I didn't care one bit. She could go straight to hell for all I cared. The next morning, I showered, dressed quickly, and packed my things for work. I spent some brief moments with the kids before school, ignoring Megan entirely as I prepared to leave. "No goodbye kiss?" she asked as I opened the door. "Sorry," I said absently, blowing her a kiss. "I love you." "I love you too," she replied softly. "Yeah," I muttered under my breath as I stepped outside. At the office, concentrating was difficult. My boss was understanding when I explained what was happening, having been through a divorce himself. "Take any time you need," he offered supportively. I thanked him and left early for my appointment with Dana Morgan. "Good afternoon, Mr. Lawson." Dana greeted me warmly as I entered her office. She appeared about my age, with long blonde hair and a wedding ring on her finger. "Please call me Eric," I said. shaking her hand. "All right, and call me Dana," she replied with a kind smile. "I've gone over the report Mr. Michael provided. I'm sorry you're going through this. It's unfortunately common but always painful. How are you managing?" "Honestly, not great," I confessed. "I understand," Dana said sympathetically. "Have you confronted Megan yet?" "Not yet," I admitted. "But I wasn't exactly kind to her last night." "I recommend you keep things calm for now," Dana advised. "I know it's hard with what you know, but it's best if she doesn't realize you're aware yet." "Let her continue as usual," Dana advised. "She'll know soon enough when she's served the divorce papers. Can you handle maintaining appearances until then?" "You're right. It'll be incredibly difficult," I admitted. "But I'll manage." "Good," Dana said encouragingly. "Now, let's discuss your objectives for the divorce." "I want to protect as much as possible," I said firmly. "Especially custody of the children, assuming they're mine. You understand that courts usually favor the mother, right?" Dana mentioned cautiously. "I've been the primary caregiver for the last 10 years, I countered strongly. "Megan even admitted on the recording that I'm the better parent. Her choice to spend time with Travis over attending Chloe's birthday party should carry significant weight." Dana nodded thoughtfully. "That's true, and it certainly helps your case." She reviewed the financial details I provided, making notes. "Megan received a substantial payout from the sale of her company. Her monthly dividends alone match your current salary. This should limit or eliminate spousal support." "No alimony, then?" I clarified. "Or very minimal," Dana confirmed. "She's young and able to work. If you get custody, we might even pursue child support from her." "And what about the house?" I asked. "If you gain custody, you'll likely stay in the house, and we could ask her to cover half the mortgage," Dana explained. "However, if the court grants her custody, you'd be responsible for half the mortgage and child support. Alternatively, the house could be sold, splitting proceeds equally." "What about our savings and retirement funds?" I continued. "To simplify matters, you'd each keep your own 401(k)s, Dana suggested. "All other accounts would typically be split evenly." "And Travis Reed? Can I sue him for alienation of affection?" I questioned sharply. "Unfortunately, not in this state," Dana replied. "But we can still include him in the divorce filings. There's potential for an emotional distress suit, though it rarely succeeds here." "What about his sister, Vanessa? She knew everything and even helped cover it up," I added. "Same situation," Dana responded. "We can still file, though it's unlikely to proceed far." "Please file anyway," I instructed firmly. "When can you submit all the paperwork?" "We can file by Friday," Dana assured me. "Perfect. I'd like Megan to be served late Saturday afternoon when she's away with Travis," I specified. "Understood," Dana agreed. "That'll cost extra due to weekend service fees." "That's fine, proceed," I confirmed. "All right, Eric," she said, finalizing our meeting with a handshake. After reminding me to stay calm and not act impulsively, she accepted my retainer fee. I left feeling somewhat more assured. Arriving home, I was surprised to see Megan's car in the garage. It was only Wednesday afternoon. The hood was still warm, indicating she'd recently returned. Inside, the aroma of pot roast filled the house. "Hi, honey," Megan greeted cheerfully from the kitchen. "You're home early. Everything okay?" "Yeah," I replied casually. "Feeling better than yesterday?" she asked, concerned. "A bit," I responded, forcing a relaxed smile. "I'm working things out." "Good," she smiled warmly. "Hungry? I made your favorite pot roast." "I'll have some," I accepted, adding, "Smells great." "Did you go into the office today?" "Just for a couple of hours," she said, prepping for the weekend trip. "Have you spoken to Chloe?" I asked carefully. "Yeah, she's upset, but she'll manage," Megan replied calmly. "Where are the kids now?" "Upstairs doing homework," she informed me. "Still planning your trip with Travis?" I probed cautiously. "Yes, it's purely business," she stated firmly. When do you plan on fully retiring? I asked pointedly. I'm essentially retired now, Megan clarified defensively. Just helping temporarily. Not sure how long that'll be. Seems more like full-time again, I remarked dryly. But you have to do what's necessary. What does that mean? She asked suspiciously. You're spending so much time there, you might as well be officially employed, I suggested. Why would I? I'm making more now, she responded confidently. I put my briefcase away and changed clothes, complimenting her cooking and thinking about the domestic skills I'd miss after our separation. After spending time with the kids, I retreated into my office, locking the door behind me. Megan knocked shortly after discovering it was locked. Cracking the door slightly, I faced her questioning eyes. Are you sleeping in here tonight, Eric? She asked softly. I think so, I replied, sounding weary. I've still got a lot to do and don't feel great. Don't want you getting sick right before your trip, so I'll just sleep on the futon. Oh, all right, she said quietly. Take care of yourself, please. I love you. Yeah, same here, I responded briefly, shutting the door. Once she left, I quickly opened my laptop and began searching online. After finding the necessary information, I filled out an online form and confirmed via email. Noting the provided phone number, I set an alert on my phone to call and confirm details the following day. Thursday was pretty similar to Wednesday, except Megan tried to entice me into bed, wearing a sheer nightgown that left little to the imagination. Despite her allure, knowing about her and Travis completely destroyed any desire I once had. Sorry, Megan. I've got a terrible migraine, I mumbled, avoiding eye contact. I'll take something and sleep here in the office. A tear slipped down her cheek as she walked away, but at that point, I felt nothing. The following morning, Megan called before leaving. Hope you're feeling better today, Eric, she said gently. Maybe we can reconnect after I get back on Monday. My parents will pick up the kids today and bring them home tomorrow for Chloe's birthday. Thanks for letting me know, I responded. I really do love you, Eric, she said softly. I hope you still believe that. Yeah, I answered distantly. Have a safe trip. Goodbye, Megan. After hanging up, I immediately called Dana. The paperwork is being filed now, Eric, she updated me. They'll serve her tomorrow at 5:40 at Travis's place. Exactly as planned. Vanessa will be served on Monday. Thanks, Dana, I said, ending the call. I informed my assistant that I was leaving early, locked up, and went home to finish preparations before the movers arrived. Boxes lined the garage, ready for loading. At exactly 5 in the afternoon, the moving crew arrived just as I'd finished packing everything. As they loaded the truck, I took Megan's wedding dress and carefully destroyed it, turning it into ashes. I placed the ashes in a paper bag, sealed it along with a note, my wedding band, and our shredded marriage certificate in an envelope, then handed it to one of the movers. Deliver this to Megan tomorrow at Travis's house at 5:40 p.m., I instructed, tipping him generously. I'll make sure she gets it, he assured me. Later, I warmed up some leftover pot roast and sat down to eat in front of the TV. For the first time in a while, I slept soundly in the master bedroom. Saturday around noon, Megan's parents arrived with the children. I'd already set up everything for Chloe's birthday party in the backyard, scheduled for 3. Earlier, I'd picked up the cake Megan had ordered and stored it safely in the fridge. You've been busy, Megan's mother, Diane, commented when she walked in. Didn't really have a choice, I replied. Hopefully it'll go smoothly. I'm sure the kids will love it, she said reassuringly. Chloe mentioned Megan wasn't going to be here. Yeah, I sighed. I can't believe she'd miss her daughter's birthday. Diane paused, studying me carefully. Eric, is everything all right between you two? No, I admitted. I didn't want to tell you like this, but I'm divorcing Megan. What? Why? Walter, Megan's dad, exclaimed in shock. Megan's been having an affair with her former boss, Travis, for over 12 years, I disclosed bluntly. That's where she is right now. Diane gasped, oh my God. Are you absolutely sure? I've suspected it for a while, I explained. Last month, I hired an investigator who confirmed everything. I have extensive evidence, reports, photos, even videos. I don't need to see those, Diane declined sadly. Are you sure you can't work things out? Absolutely not, I replied firmly. Too much betrayal. I'd like to see the evidence, Walter insisted. I can't believe she'd be so foolish. Come with me, I invited, leading Walter to my office and handing him the report. He read it, visibly shaken. My God, he muttered, handing it back. This is unbelievable. I'm truly sorry, Eric. Now you see why there's no turning back, I explained. And what about Travis? Walter asked seriously. What are you doing about him? I've filed lawsuits against him and his sister for emotional distress, I said. That's not nearly enough punishment, Walter scoffed. After ruining your marriage for so long, that's it? Walter, I have kids to think about, I explained. I can't risk jail. You won't, he said firmly. Leave him to me. What do you mean? I asked cautiously. Better if you don't know, Walter replied with a grin. Just trust me. I agreed reluctantly. Walter gave me a hearty pat on the shoulder. Come on, let's join the family. Outside, Diane had beautifully set up the backyard. Chloe rushed over excitedly. Thank you, Daddy. It's amazing. I wish Mom was here. Me too, I said gently. But we'll take lots of pictures for her, all right? Okay, Chloe agreed happily. I fired up the grill, cooking burgers and hot dogs as the party began. Around 4:40 p.m., the doorbell rang, signaling the start of the festivities. Over the next half hour, Chloe's friends arrived with their parents, excited and ready for the celebration. Among the last guests to arrive were Vanessa, her husband Stephen, and their daughter Emily. After welcoming them, I sent Emily to join the kids in the backyard and offered Vanessa and Stephen something to drink. I'm surprised you made it, Vanessa, I said casually. Wasn't there a major business trip scheduled? That's Megan and Travis's deal, she clarified. I'm just handling things at the office. I see, I replied coolly. Vanessa looked at me closely. Everything okay between you and Megan? Why do you ask? I questioned sharply. You're not wearing your wedding ring, she pointed out. Glancing down at my hand, I shrugged. I gave it back to her. Maybe Travis will have better luck keeping her faithful. What exactly are you implying? Vanessa asked, visibly startled. Cut the act, Vanessa, I snapped. I know about Megan and your brother. You've both fooled me long enough. Eric, Megan does care about you, she insisted nervously. So much that she lied to me for over 12 years, I retorted sarcastically. How comforting. What are you planning? Vanessa asked hesitantly. I'm divorcing Megan, I stated plainly, checking my watch. And they're about to get served with papers. Served? Vanessa repeated, confused. That's right, I explained. Megan and Travis will receive divorce and legal notices shortly. And you'll be served on Monday. Why am I involved? I didn't do anything. Vanessa protested. Exactly, I snapped back. You knew about their affair for years, probably even helped hide it. You sat at my table, shared our meals, pretended to be my friend, all while knowing Megan was cheating with your brother. My family's destroyed and you're partly to blame. I never intended this, Eric, Vanessa pleaded. I'm genuinely sorry. Sorry isn't enough, I responded coldly. You all deliberately destroyed my family and now you've succeeded. That's not exactly how it happened, Vanessa tried to defend. Really? Was it all just business at first? I pressed. Initially, yes, Vanessa admitted reluctantly. Travis convinced Megan it was necessary for her career, but it evolved into something deeper. Yet Megan chose to continue even after retiring? I challenged. Yes, Vanessa confirmed sadly. It was her decision alone at that point. Well, she made the wrong choice, I concluded. But you're still responsible. Eric, I'm so sorry, Vanessa said softly, her voice trembling. You need to leave, I said firmly. Please gather your family and go. I understand, Vanessa whispered, turning away. Oh, and Vanessa, I called after her. She stopped and turned around. Don't ever come back here again, I warned. She nodded tearfully and walked away to find Stephen and Emily. Meanwhile, Megan and Travis were relaxing in bed when her phone buzzed. Expecting party photos, Megan quickly checked, only to see a startling message from Vanessa. He knows everything. Oh no, Megan gasped. What's wrong? Travis asked, noticing her panic. Vanessa says Eric found out, Megan explained hastily, grabbing her robe. I need to head home. Are you sure that's wise? Travis questioned cautiously. I have to, Megan said, urgently getting dressed. Just then, the doorbell rang. Who could that be? Travis wondered, glancing outside to see a sedan and a moving truck. He quickly threw on clothes, following Megan to the door. A man in a jacket stood outside. Are you Travis Reed? The man asked. Yes, Travis confirmed. And Megan Lawson? The man inquired further. That's me, Megan answered nervously. I need identification from both of you, the man requested politely. After checking their IDs, he handed each an envelope. "You've both been served," he stated calmly. "Included is a restraining order, stay 500 feet from Eric Lawson, his home, workplace, and the children's school. Violations could result in arrest." As he left, another man approached with a paper bag and envelope. "Megan Lawson?" he asked. "That's me," Megan replied, bewildered. "I was asked to deliver this," he explained, handing her the bag. "I also have some boxes. Where would you like them?" Travis and Megan exchanged stunned glances before Travis hesitantly spoke up. "Just leave them in the front room for now," Travis instructed. "Thanks, sir," the mover replied, heading back to the truck. They watched as he brought in several boxes, stacking them neatly as directed. Meanwhile, Megan nervously opened the envelope. Inside, she found a man's wedding ring, their torn-up marriage certificate, and a note. Tears welled in Megan's eyes as she began reading. "Megan, I spent our entire marriage loving and supporting you. Imagine how it felt discovering you've been involved with Travis Reed for 12 years. Is this how you repay me, lying and betraying our family? You kept insisting it was just business, but clearly it was much more. I hope your choices were worth it. You should see a lawyer soon. I've already sorted our finances according to the divorce filing and changed the locks. Given that I've been the primary caregiver since your affair began, I'm seeking full custody. I'll still allow visitation, have your lawyer contact mine to arrange that. All your things are now at Travis's. If you need anything else, coordinate through the attorneys. Please stay away from me and the kids. If you attempt to contact us, I'll enforce the restraining order. Don't complicate things further. If necessary, I have extensive evidence from a private investigator. I haven't explained the details to the kids yet, but I will when appropriate. Your parents have some understanding, but not all. Let's end this fake marriage now. As of this moment, Megan, you're nothing to me. Goodbye. Eric." Megan sobbed openly, opening the bag to find the ashes of her wedding gown. She collapsed to the floor, crying uncontrollably. Travis held her gently, reading the note himself. "That jerk," Travis said angrily. "I'll confront him." "No, Travis," Megan interrupted through tears. "Don't make things worse. This is my mess." "What did you get served with?" Travis asked. "He's suing me for emotional distress, asking for $5 million, Travis said bitterly. "I'll call my lawyer." "I wonder if he's going after Vanessa," Megan worried aloud. "Let's find out," Travis decided, grabbing his phone. "If she's involved, we need a plan." After Chloe's party ended, I thanked everyone for coming and began the cleanup. Chloe approached me, looking upset. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I asked softly. "I just really missed Mom today," Chloe said sadly, tears in her eyes. "Me too," I said gently. But she had other priorities. "Are you and Mom breaking up?" Chloe asked suddenly, her voice trembling. I hesitated, knowing this conversation had to happen. "We'll talk more about it later, okay? Is it because of Travis?" Lucas interjected suddenly. "Why would you think that?" I asked cautiously. "I overheard Mom talking to him a lot on the phone," Lucas admitted quietly. I sighed, deciding now wasn't the right moment. "Let's focus on Chloe's day. Help me clean up, all right?" "Okay, Dad," Lucas agreed. I hugged Chloe again, reassuring her. "Everything will be okay, honey. I love you." "Love you too, Daddy," she whispered. Diane and Walter stayed to help finish cleaning. "Are you going to be all right, Eric?" Diane asked before leaving. "I'll manage," I assured her. "Thank you both for everything." "Anytime," Diane replied warmly. "Call us if you need anything." Walter shook my hand firmly. "Take care, son." Once they left, I locked up and collapsed into bed, exhausted. The next morning, after preparing breakfast, I tackled the usual Sunday chores with Lucas helping outside. By lunchtime, I came inside to find Chloe preparing sandwiches. We ate quietly, and afterward, Chloe looked at me expectantly. "Dad, what's happening?" she asked seriously. I guided them to the living room, preparing myself. "This isn't easy, but your mom and I are separating." To my surprise, the kids sat quietly, processing the news carefully. I had expected a stronger reaction. "Mom's been seeing Travis, hasn't she?" Lucas asked suddenly. "Yes," I confirmed softly. "I had a feeling," Lucas said, looking down. "It's been going on a long time, right?" "Why do you think so?" I asked, surprised. "Just the way she talks to him," Lucas explained. "I overheard her a few times. She talks to him almost like she talks to you, Dad." I felt foolish for not noticing sooner, though I'd always trusted Megan and respected her privacy. Eavesdropping never even crossed my mind. "How long, Dad?" Chloe asked quietly. "About 12 years," I admitted. Chloe gasped softly. "That's almost my whole life." "Pretty much," I said sadly. "Wow," Chloe muttered, quickly adding, "Sorry, Dad." "It's okay," I assured her gently. "I understand your frustration. Can I stay with you?" Chloe asked earnestly. Absolutely, I said without hesitation. If that's what you want. Me too, Lucas said firmly. You've always been there for us. That means everything to me, I said, opening my arms. Both kids hugged me tightly, filling me with relief and happiness. After the emotional moment, we continued our day, though a somber mood lingered. Monday went smoothly. Walter and Diane picked up the kids after school and stayed until I got home from work. I felt bad imposing, but they reassured me it was no trouble, even helping with dinner. On Tuesday, Dana called to inform me that Megan wanted to see the kids. I was hesitant, worried she might take them. What about the restraining order? I asked. We could suspend it temporarily from Friday night to Sunday morning to look cooperative, Dana suggested. How about the kids visit Megan at her parents' house? I countered. I'll drop them Friday and pick them up Sunday. I'll propose that, Dana agreed. Absolutely no Travis or Vanessa, I emphasized. And the kids might not even want to see Megan. I'll make that clear, Dana assured me. Anything else? I asked. Megan's lawyer requested the full investigator's report. I've sent it, she should have it soon, Dana said. So Megan hired a lawyer, I noted. Yes, Tara Benson, Dana informed me. Odd choice given Tara's views on infidelity. But I'll keep you updated. The next day, Dana confirmed Megan accepted my conditions. The restraining order would be lifted only for Megan from midnight Friday to noon Sunday, and visits would be supervised at her parents' home. The kids reluctantly agreed after some convincing. Walter even invited me out Saturday evening. Friday morning, I made sure the kids were ready and reminded them to call if anything seemed off. After school drop-off, I headed to work. The next evening, Walter picked me up for some food and drinks downtown. As we settled in, Walter updated me. Megan arrived this morning, he began. It started tense, but she actually confessed everything to the kids. That's surprising, I admitted. She claims she still loves you, Walter added carefully. Might want to reconcile. Not after 12 years of betrayal, I said firmly. Walter nodded thoughtfully. Did you really burn her wedding dress? That thing cost me a small fortune. Seemed fitting at the time, I chuckled dryly. Her lawyer really laid into her after seeing the investigator's report, Walter continued. I think she's starting to realize how badly she messed up. Too little, too late, I replied, sipping my beer. Suddenly, a commotion erupted behind me. As I turned, a violent blow struck my head. Dizzy, I barely dodged a kick aimed at me. Travis's furious voice echoed, I'll end you, Eric. Struggling, I remembered my dad's self-defense lessons. With all my strength, I hit Travis hard, sending him staggering backward. Fueled by years of anger and hurt, I attacked without restraint. Only when Walter and another patron pulled me back did I realize Travis was already unconscious. I awoke later in a hospital bed, groggy and sore. My hand was bandaged, my arm casted, and my head throbbed painfully. He should recover well, the doctor reassured someone nearby. He's going to have quite the headache for a while, but thankfully there's no concussion. We'll give him some pain medication and let him rest a bit before he heads home, the doctor explained. Appreciate it, doctor, Walter said cheerfully. I looked over at Walter, a little confused. He flashed me a reassuring smile. Did you hear that, buddy? You're going to be fine. I know you're hurting, but the other guy got it a lot worse. Heard he might lose one of his testicles, lost a few teeth, and almost had an eye knocked out. Looks like you broke your knuckle against his jaw pretty good. That was Travis, wasn't it? Yeah, I managed to say hoarsely. How long have I been here? Since late last night, Walter answered, glancing at his watch. It's Sunday morning, August 30th now. Oh, and a couple of cops outside want to chat with you. You feel up to talking to them? Might as well get it over with, I muttered. Walter nodded and motioned the officers inside. 2 large policemen stepped in. Mr. Lawson, I'm Sergeant Harris and this is Officer Neal. We responded to the disturbance at the Flat Stick Pub last night. How are you doing this morning, sir? Harris asked. Feels like someone hit me in the head with a baseball bat, I said. Harris nodded, jotting something in his notepad. Could you tell us what happened? Not much to tell. I was having a burger and a beer with my father-in-law here when suddenly, out of nowhere, I got hit, I explained. The guy threatened me, so I defended myself. Harris glanced down at his notes again. That aligns with witness statements and surveillance footage confirms your account. Do you recognize your attacker? Yeah, his name is Travis Reed. He's involved in a lawsuit I'm pursuing and part of my divorce, I explained. Divorce? Harris clarified. Yes, I affirmed. Understood, Harris noted. Do you wish to press charges? Absolutely. There's also an active restraining order against him, I told him. We'll follow up on that. It would be helpful if you stayed nearby for a few days in case we have more questions, Harris advised. No problem, Sergeant, I replied, raising my hand slightly. Harris nodded politely as they left. Moments later, Diane, Megan, and the kids came in. What is she doing here? I asked, looking directly at Megan. My restraining order doesn't kick in again until noon, Megan said softly. Figured you'd be with your new boyfriend, I retorted. She lowered her eyes, embarrassed. I wanted to see you first. Besides, Vanessa is taking care of him right now. He's still recovering. I nodded slowly as my kids gathered around. Chloe's eyes were filled with tears. Daddy, are you going to be okay? She asked, her voice trembling. I'll be fine, sweetheart, I assured her. Lucas smiled broadly. Dad, everyone says you really gave Travis a pounding. That's the rumor, I said, glancing at Walter. But it's nothing to brag about. You understand. I understand, Dad, Lucas responded seriously. Megan stepped closer, her voice softer. Eric, are you okay? Dad's tough. He'll pull through, Chloe said firmly. Lucas and I will make sure of it. Right, Lucas? Absolutely, Lucas agreed. Megan paused, looking at our teenage children. Would you guys mind giving your father and me a moment alone? They exchanged glances and nodded. Sure, Chloe said. But we'll be right outside. Come on, Lucas. Walter and Diane followed the kids out, leaving Megan and me alone. Megan took a deep breath. Eric, I don't even know where to begin apologizing. Like I told Vanessa last Saturday, sorry barely scratches the surface, I replied bitterly. You lied and cheated on me for, what, 12 years? Did you really think a simple apology would fix that? Was I such a terrible husband? All I ever did was love you and stand by you. No, you were always an amazing husband and father, she said sadly. Yet somehow that wasn't enough, I shot back. It's not that simple, Megan protested weakly. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly that simple. You don't understand, she insisted. Then explain it, I demanded. She hesitated. At first, it was to keep my job. Travis insisted that intimacy was necessary to keep my position. That's harassment. Why didn't you tell me immediately? We could have fought it, I argued. But I get it. You wanted the job so badly you figured cheating was just a minor sacrifice even if it destroyed our family. It was like making a deal with the devil, she admitted softly. Now you're blaming the devil? I scoffed. Face it, you were willing to trade your marriage for your career ambitions. Your favorite phrase was always, it's just business, wasn't it? Tell me, Megan, how does tearing your family apart fit your business plan? And why keep it up after retirement? That part was my fault, she admitted quietly. I thought I could manage both. You developed feelings for him, didn't you? I accused. How long did you plan to juggle us both? Forever? Did you honestly believe I'd never find out or that I'd accept it once I did? And believe me, I know more than you think. Yes, eventually I developed feelings, she confessed quietly. It was hard not to after so long. I hoped you'd love me enough to let me have that small piece of happiness. Are you serious? I exclaimed. Every moment with him was a moment stolen from us. Ever heard of opportunity cost? Choosing him meant losing us. Now you've lost your family. But I still love you, Megan insisted desperately. That never changed. But you lost respect for me, I countered sharply. She looked stunned. Never. Yes, you did. That's why you promised Travis you'd be with him forever and threatened me with financial ruin, I stated bluntly. Her eyes widened in shock. You heard that. And more, I confirmed coldly. Including when you told Travis you'd rather spend time with him than with your daughter on her birthday. What kind of mother behaves like that? What message do you think you're sending to our teenage kids? Did you even consider Chloe's feelings or Lucas's disappointment when you missed his birthday last year? She visibly winced. I suppose I've completely failed as a wife and a mother, she whispered almost to herself. That's your own assessment, not mine, I replied with a shrug. But if you feel it fits, then there you go. Also, your accomplice might be happy to know he won't owe me any child support. I had DNA tests done. Both kids are mine. Megan looked genuinely shocked. You honestly thought I'd betray you like that too? You've lied and manipulated me for over a decade, I pointed out. After all that deception, what else would I believe? By the way, you should probably get checked out yourself. Travis has got a habit of playing around. You're far from his only fling. I had a feeling about that, she admitted quietly. So what happens now? Just sign the divorce papers, Megan, I said firmly. End this charade of a marriage, seek help and get your life straightened out for the kids, if nothing else. You'll probably have plenty of time, especially since Travis will likely be staying in prison for a while. You're right, she agreed softly. Okay, I'll sign them. I'm deeply sorry for everything, Eric. You've said that already, I reminded her. I suppose I have, she said quietly. Anyway, thanks for letting me spend time with the kids this weekend. No problem, I responded simply. She hesitated, eyes watery. You probably won't believe this, but I still love you. I just wish you'd find it in your heart to forgive me someday and give us another chance. You're right, I don't believe you, I said flatly, but thanks for at least saying it. Maybe a small part of me still cares for you, but that's not enough. Trust matters just as much as love, and I don't know if I'll ever trust anyone again after this. She nodded quietly, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. I understand, she whispered. Goodbye, Eric. She leaned in, kissed my cheek softly, then quickly left the room crying. Moments later, Walter, Diane, and the kids came back in. You okay, son? Walter asked, concern clear in his voice. Yeah, I'm all right, I assured him. We finally hashed it all out. I think she gets how much damage she's done. Does that mean you and Mom are getting back together? Chloe asked hopefully. I gently shook my head. No, sweetheart. But you still love each other, she insisted, confusion evident. Love alone isn't enough to keep a marriage alive, Chloe, I explained. Trust matters just as much, and right now that's something I can't give your mom. You'll understand someday. After a quick check by the doctor, I was discharged. Walter drove the kids and me home. That night, I got a panicked phone call from Walter and Diane. Vanessa had found Megan unconscious at Travis's apartment after she'd overdosed on sleeping pills and alcohol. There was a note by her bed that simply read, I'm sorry. Megan survived, though just barely, and spent several days recovering in the hospital. After being evaluated by mental health professionals, she moved back in with Walter and Diane under their care. She signed the divorce papers without protest. Dana informed me that our divorce would be finalized in 90 days. Free at last, I thought bitterly. Travis and Vanessa quickly settled out of court, offering about half of my original claim. After legal fees, I walked away with roughly $3.5 million. I immediately set aside $1 million for each of the kids' college funds, saving the rest. I began planning a Mediterranean cruise to take them on during the upcoming summer break. Travis was convicted of aggravated assault, battery, and attempted murder, thanks to clear video evidence. He received a 10-year sentence with the possibility of parole after 8.5 years. Whenever I brought the kids over to visit Walter and Diane, I'd run into Megan. Sometimes we'd talk briefly, but I couldn't move past what she'd done. She was seeing a counselor regularly, hoping to understand her behavior better, still holding on to some hope we'd reconcile. I was glad she sought help, though honestly, it felt like it came far too late. Gradually, she rebuilt her relationship with the kids, which was a comfort. Walter mentioned Megan kept herself busy writing for various business websites and wasn't interested in seeing anyone romantically. She was clearly disappointed when she heard about the Mediterranean cruise I was planning with the kids, but she accepted it gracefully, genuinely wishing us a good trip. Chloe and Lucas regularly sent her photos and updates from our travels. During the cruise, I met Rachel, a warm-hearted woman from Oregon who, like me, was enjoying a trip to recover from her own divorce. She was younger than Megan, had cheerful blonde hair, and an endearing habit of ending sentences with a. Her 2 children, a bit younger than Chloe and Lucas, were spending the summer in Montana with their grandparents. Rachel and I spent considerable time together on board, sharing stories, laughter, and even a few romantic evenings. Chloe playfully teased me about having a new girlfriend. When the cruise ended, Rachel and I exchanged contact details and promised to stay in touch through emails and video chats. Although unsure about where things might go, we started chatting online at least twice weekly. Life at home gradually adjusted without Megan. My boss generously allowed flexibility, making it easier to manage school runs and daily routines. Lucas would soon be driving, which would further ease things. Shortly after returning, Walter brought troubling news. They've decided Megan needs to stay in a mental health facility, he announced solemnly. Why? What happened? I asked, genuinely concerned. Chloe sent her a photo of us dining with Rachel during your cruise, Walter explained. Megan didn't handle it well. She tried to take her own life again. We found her in the bathtub. I can't believe it, I murmured, feeling sympathy despite everything. Still, part of me felt like she finally understood the agony I'd endured from her betrayal with Travis. She survived, thankfully, but doctors say she needs constant supervision, Walter continued. Diane and I just can't provide that around the clock. They're not sure how long she'll need treatment, maybe years or possibly even permanent. Let me know if you need anything, I offered sincerely. Thanks, son. Means a lot, Walter replied appreciatively. Meanwhile, Rachel and I continued our long-distance relationship, becoming closer with each conversation. I began picturing a future together. Rachel felt deeply sorry for Megan, especially regarding the emotional toll on the family. During our latest chat, Rachel suggested visiting us with her kids or inviting us up to her home, a beautiful 2-story log cabin built in the late 1800s, surrounded by 50 acres of pristine forest north of Hermiston. I'd never been that far north before, so the idea was appealing.